Hi, my name is Nils Naujoks and I'm a professional sim racer for G2 Esports. Overall, there's huge debate in sim racing whether or not hardware can make you faster. I don't think in particular if you have the talent, the hardware will make you shine or put you at the back of the field. In the past 2 decades, sim racing equipment has made a major leap. Of course, we were taking deeper takes onto pedals, racing wheels, PCs and of course monitors as well. In particular, the monitor in sim racing is like one of the few connections you have to the car. Everything is perceived visually in the first place, and therefore it's really important to have high frame rates, low response rates of the monitor, because this gives you a competitive advantage in the end and makes it easier for you to perceive what the car is doing.
Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.
Saturday, everybody. Richard John Neal here with you for the penultimate weekend of official UK Mini Challenge eSeries racing, and what a pleasure to be joined by Alex Toft-Jones in the commentary box. Alex, great to welcome you along. How are things?
Good morning. Yeah, it's good. I'm excited. I've never been this side of the commentary box before. I'm normally the one getting stressed out and and having to go and trying to think of things to say when you ask the questions. But yeah, today should be fun. I've managed to get out of bed on time, so let's see how it goes.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We did an interview, didn't we, a chat last year prior to one of the rounds, and I look back at that. It was a good chat. It was good to hook up with you on there, and even better to be co-commentating with you today on the international configuration here at Silverstone. So really looking forward to it. Loads of messages coming through on social media. Mini Challenge eSeries, official Mini Challenge eSeries, and Dan Gower says good morning, chaps. Good morning to him. George Gower says good luck, Alfie Glennie. Alfie's been working his way up the order, and I think he's going to be knocking on the door of some serious points before too long. Simon Reed is on board as well. He's thanking us for the shout out for Driver of the Day last weekend, which I nominated for, and he got his first lot of points last weekend, so that was good. Mike Brennan says, of course, to Juggy Bear, Jordan Brennan, good luck today. Keep it clean, back 6 points. We've had James Bamford cheering on Dan Zelos, Jeff Evanson cheering on Max Evanson, Chris Hall cheering on the other Max Coates, and let me see, who else have we got? I mentioned Dan Gower already, Mike Brennan, so we're sort of up to date. If you do want to send us a social media message, that would be good. We might have a question for Alex or myself as we go through the day, or any observations that you might pick up that we miss. Ashley Beard says, go on, Max Coates. Bradley Gravitt Racing is watching again, which is good. He's saying, have a good result, Alfie. Well done. Welcome along to Bradley Gravitt. Robbie Stapleford being cheered on by Dan Cole Stapleford. Here's your timetable. Practice we've already had, 60 minutes of that. Mike Epps was the man who topped the timing sheets. Qualifying will be 15 minutes from 10 o'clock. Race 1, 20 minutes. Race 2, another 20 minutes, but with the top 12 finishers from race 1 reversed. So 1.851 mile configuration. Your clerk of the course, as ever, is Andy Ringland. Race director Rich Hayden. Both of those guys, as ever, have been very, very busy in the course of the week with judicials and appeals, because there is an appeal system as well. And our broadcast director, as ever, the superb Mike Yao. So that's your team for today. In terms of the judicials from the last round, we've actually got 2 drivers on 10 points on their licence at the moment. Now, what does that mean? If you get 12 points, you are on a ban. So I'm not going to go into names and what's happened in the previous events, because I'd rather keep it nice and positive. But the positive thing for me, Alex, is the fact that we do have this real-world judicial process going on, keeping an eye on stuff on track, and that's a healthy thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be impossible to run a championship without it. There would just be so much carnage. It does make it tricky though, because it is quite easy to rack up the odd point here and there for the odd little discrepancy. And I do feel for the lads that are going into this round with effectively no margin for error, especially when they're fighting for with the championship being as close as it is. But yeah, from competing in it last year, it was intense, and you do rack them up very easily. So yeah, I feel for them, but it's got to be done.
Having said we weren't going to share who's on them, you've got some penalty points on the championship tables, which you can see here. Dave Marshall hasn't got any penalty points, and he tops the table at the moment from Mike Epps, Jack McIntyre, and Juggy Bear Jordan Brennan. Max Edmondson is 5th from Max Coates. Within that top 6, of course, we have the sim category. The top sim lad is going to get the real world drive. Dave Marshall heads that at the moment, 191 points. That's 35 points clear of the second sim driver, which is Jack McIntyre. And Dave Marshall, if he can have a gap of 43 points by the end of the day, he will provisionally be champion, because there are 20 points per race, plus point for pole, point for fastest lap in each of the races. So we're looking at that possibly being wrapped up. Similarly with the overall championship, which is actually closer, sorry, not the overall, the regular drivers, the real world drivers championship, with Mike Epps 51 points at the moment, clear of Max Edmondson, and then Max Coates a further 10 or so behind. Here's the calendar. We've got one more round next week. Make sure you join us for Brands Hatch GP. I can't believe we're nearly in March already. I don't know where this lockdown's gone, but again, for me, this championship, this series, has done exactly what last year's series did in lockdown, which brought us from a point where I certainly was getting a bit depressed about things, and we didn't feel there was anything upcoming. And now we're getting to the end of it, and we've got the start of lockdown beginning to dissipate, and the thought that we're going to get back to some sort of normality very, very soon. So this series has brought us through those weeks. It has for me. I hope it has for you guys at home that are watching, and I hope it has for you, Alex, too.
Yeah, I think like most of us, I'm quite happy to see the end is near, the light at the end of the tunnel. I just hope that it doesn't have an adverse effect on sim racing, because it's grown so much since the start of lockdown, more than I think anyone could have ever anticipated. But yeah, I think the majority of us, especially me, are looking forward to getting back to some form of normal and getting back to a racetrack, inevitably. But as long as everyone's staying safe and following the guidelines, we'll do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to see you back. It was good to hook up with you a couple of times last year. There's our spotters guide on the screen, by the way. You can get that from the internet if you want to print it off and have it like a little mini program. People still do that, which is good. Gemma Lambert says, good morning, everyone. Hi, Gemma. She's enjoying watching everybody. Graves Motorsport says, good luck, Alfie Glennie. I think Alfie might have the most support, which is great to hear from the driver who used to cover in the VRRC CPS Junior Championship. Cam says, good morning from the team at Cam. We are supporting Dan Zelos Racing. So Dan, of course, in the top 10 of the championship, 8th place at the moment. I was talking about Mike Epps possibly being able to wrap up the real world driver series. 51 points clear of Max Edmondson. Max is on 124 points, and Max Coates on 111. Remember, the real world drivers get sim equipment courtesy of our sponsors, and we'll talk more about our sponsors a little bit later on. But Luke Kidsley is the man who has done the hot lap for us this week, so let's join Luke on the international circuit.
Hey guys, Luke Kidsley from Lux Motorsport here. Just going to do a quick track guide around my local circuit, Silverstone International. So as we head into turn 1, fast entry into Abbey, using just a touch of curb on the inside there, hoping it won't upset the balance of the car too much. Through farm, getting over to that left hand side, heavy braking as we approach Village Corner. So try not to hit the raised part of that curb there. Same again through this left hand kink. And as we approach Beckett's, you want to try and brake early and turn in early so you can actually hit this apex, which I haven't managed to do. So hanger straight gives you plenty of time to reflect on just how terrible that last corner was, and what most people tend to do is then try and make up for all of that lost time as we come into Stowe. So heavy braking into Stowe, down 2 gears just as we approach the curbs. Smooth with the wheel, trying to be patient with the gas, and again I've hit too much curb. I've actually managed to hit a bit of grass, which again is not going to help me at all. Last complex, really technical this, slowing the car down, sacrificing a little bit to make sure you keep yourself on the left, so then you can get a nice run out of club corner, and again trying to keep the wheel movements to a minimum so you can just maximise all the speed out of that last part over the start finish line. Many thanks for watching, and good luck to all the drivers this weekend.
Thanks very much to Luke Kidsley, a great real-world driver coach, for giving us that insight into that. This is an odd one for me, Alex, because this is the one track that I haven't commentated on. I have commentated at Silverstone, I think on the GP configuration, but I haven't commentated on the International as a standalone, and it does actually give me a different perspective, to be honest, as a commentator. Is it a configuration that you raced on?
I didn't race on it. I managed to do my first ever test on it last year in the Porsche Cayman. It's definitely an interesting circuit. It's got some really, really, I'm going to say funky corners. You've definitely got a lot of off camber and a lot of horrible sausage curves to contend with, but because it's not a long lap, it's going to mean that pace is going to be so close. I had to go at the Friday fun race that VRRC put on the night before, just to join in and see how I got on, and it's relentless. So I think qualifying is going to be close, and I think there's a number of drivers that could potentially stick it on pole if they get the correct toe at the right time.
You very modestly didn't mention then that you did all right, didn't you?
I did better than I expected. I obviously I don't practice the Mini anymore because obviously I'm not competing in the championship, but I jumped on, and with a little bit of help from Dave Marshall, I managed to qualify 5th in the fun race, which would probably have put me about 10th in the practice session from a minute ago. So yeah, it was all right, but I think these guys have got a bit more experience this year than me. You
might have been brighter this morning than them, so you might have been higher up.
Always dream.
Interesting to hear about you testing the Porsche Cayman. Obviously saw a couple of races of those last year. It was nice to see them guesting on the touring car program. I think Croft was one of the rounds as well. But I saw you at GT Cup, so you're a fair old peddler. I mean, you've driven Porsche, you've driven Aston Martins, and hopefully we'll see you out in the like again very soon. Yeah,
I've been quite fortunate to jump in and out of a lot of different cars, especially last year because of obviously the pandemic. There was nothing, there's nothing concrete at the beginning of the year, so a few opportunities crops up, and you manage to take them. It turns out to be a really good year. Yeah, GT Cup was mega. It's such an awesome championship. Obviously it's seen as the feeder series to British GT, but it's still very competitive and great for the AM. I was just looking at the onboard cameras we keep flicking to. There's some really interesting concentration faces going on here.
Max Coates, he's got himself well lit now. You're probably aware we've had a running joke about Max sitting in the dark, and we had this nickname of Candles Coates because we were going to send him some either contribution to the electricity bill, but he's actually got himself well lit now, which is
he manages. Yeah. He seems to complain every time we jump on the Discord that he's too cold. So I don't know where he's put his sim, but it's nowhere near his house.
Yeah, they're tight, aren't they? Basically, not putting the electricity. I've got a mate, a Scottish mate, actually, in my real world job, the midweek job, who since he's been working from home, every time we do a Zoom call, he's in a hat like Max has got, and a coat and scarf, and he literally doesn't put his heating on. And I hate to make the archetypal joke about the Scots, but some areas of the country are more frugal than others, aren't they? Should we say?
Yeah.
There's a guy who doesn't need the heating cranked up. Damien Hall, of course, our Bajan police officer, the Copper Piston, got a really good following, the E-Racer, and has been up in the top 10 earlier on in the season. And as you can see, it's nice and warm out there because he's t-shirted.
I know. It's just not fair, is it? It's not fair that he gets to sit in Barbados.
Love to get him over for a race. It'd be really good to see him come over.
Brilliant. And Damien's brilliant as well. He's a great character, and it's good to see that he's come back from last year to do it again, and he's improving, because even though positions-wise it's probably not much different, it's so much more competitive that you have to improve this year to be inside the top 20.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tight, and of course they've tightened up the points as well. It's only the top 15 drivers that get points. We've got some more shout-outs on social media. Mike Noller says, good luck today, Jack Noller. So we've wished him well. And Simon Nally says, morning guys, morning Si. Thank you for hooking up with us. Don't forget, hashtag Mini Challenge UK eSeries is your tag, and we'll pick that up automatically and be able to feed your messages through. It's Dave Marshall on provisional pole. Wasn't looking so sharp in the practice session, but he's saved it for early doors here, and he is top of the tree, as you can see, from Dan Zelos, with Mike Epps in third, then Robbie Stapleford, Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson fifth and sixth, Jack Noller and Max Coates next up from Josh Hislop, Jack McIntyre, Matt Richards and Josh Martin in 12th. Ryan Elliott, is he going to be a reverse grid specialist, as we were talking about earlier on? Again, he's 13th, and that places him handily in that zone as we inset for Jack McIntyre. That's handy, isn't it? Because that's there or thereabouts for reverse grid pole.
Yeah, I mean, if you know you're not going to have a good weekend and you know you're just lacking that few tenths, I'd be lying if you say you didn't aim for the reverse grid pole. Ryan's definitely a specialist at that, and we do take the mick out of him a lot for it. In fact, you know, he was chatting to me just before we came on the stream, asking me to say nice things about him. Told him to let his drive and do the talking. But anywhere inside the top 10 is a good result. That lap time from Dave is crazy. I reckon it's going to take an absolutely obscene lap time to beat that, especially being 2/10 clear of everyone on such a close circuit. That's really impressive for Dave. But with Dave, I've started to call him
track limits.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. But with Dave, I've started to call him the king of sandbagging, because he seems to, in every practice session, he's just the quickest, or he's just second, and then he turns up for qualifying and there's 3/10s there, and I'm convinced he's just hiding it all week. But he's an incredible sim racer.
He's always there, isn't he, or thereabouts. A good performance from Dan Zelos. Really good to see Dan Zelos getting up there and getting some experience of sim racing as well. 2/10 down. Dave Marshall's time, by the way, compares with the practice quickest time, 1:11.3, which was Mike Epps. Jack McIntyre doing a 1:11.359, and Jack Mack at the moment down in 10th place as we look at Jack Noller, who's got some great support going. Cooler Master UK, one of our main sponsors, as are AOC Gaming. A big thank you to them for joining in with this series. Much appreciated, and you know, by all means go away and have a look at their social media and web presence to see how they can help you going forward. And there is the Cooler Master car of Jack Noller. Good body language going on there. He looks very calm and collected, doesn't he?
Yeah, just seeing Jordan Brennan gone second in the timesheets. That's a good lap time. He's just snuck ahead of Epps, so it's getting close up at the top. I think you're going to see a few of the drivers come close at the end. I mean, Jack McIntyre sat in 10th, half a second off. That's not, you know, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that's not where he's going to finish qualifying. Same with Max Coates, and I think I have my eyes on Rob Butler. These are drivers to watch in this qualifying. I think they're going to make some improvements, hopefully. I don't want to jinx them, commentator's curse, but I think it might spice it up a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's Luke Kidsley, who gave us hot lap. Yeah, he's a worry, the curse of the commentator, because sometimes people do take it as a little bit of a joke, and some people think there's a genuine hex there, you know, when you say how well somebody's doing. Lux Motorsport car of Kidsley. Sorry, mate.
I can't say I've ever fallen foul of the curse of the commentator. I don't know whether I believe in it or not, but I'm scared of jinxing people now.
It's just that I tell you what, as a commentator, it's a pain in the butt, because we're not there to slag people off for starters. We're there to sell what's going on, tell people what's going on. And me, I'm not a fan of. I think when I was learning commentary at the tracks, sometimes you'd come out with a negative. And I think you can do if you're having a bit of fun or a bit of banter with someone, and they're okay with it. That's fine. But when you're at the track, you know, you're there to promote people. You're there to, you know, it's a selling job effectively. So, you know, you're building somebody up, and then if they go off, you know, it's disheartening for me as a commentator. It's probably even worse for the competitor when they go off. But
yeah, it's the old cliche of, I think they've got this one wrapped up and then something goes wrong. Feel partly responsible.
Many times that's happened. There's Isaac Smith, who in the real world Silverstone, I think, had a big ding in the JCWs at Silverstone this year. Lots of announcements starting to come out now about who's going to be racing what over the course of the season, which is which is good. But May still seems quite a way off, so in some respects it does give people a little bit more time to sort out budgets and things like that. But how savvy were Toka? They must have had somebody inside knowing that May was going to be about the time we can start having people back at the tracks.
Yeah, it was a very good guess, wasn't it? If it ever was a guess. No, I think it's really weird that the season's now starting in May. I mean, obviously we had the same issue last year, but to go into the season knowing it's going to be so far away, this off-season period feels so much longer than ever. Yeah, it gives people, more time to get the plans together and a budget together, but everyone's just excited to go now, and you've seen announcements start to creep in here and there. It just means that the season's getting closer and closer, and that's when the excitement starts to build, especially for a driver when you know when it's going to be announced.
One of the guys I was talking to in the week said that his budget's actually been potentially hiked up a great deal because there is so much time between now and the start of the season that they are having to spend more on testing to keep up with the big teams that are testing. So yeah. We saw it in Ginetta Junior last year. We had a lot of first-year drivers in Ginetta Juniors who came in, and we had a complete rookie won the championship. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the guy that won the championship, Tom Levitt, because Tom is a fantastic peddler. He won the scholarship the year before, and he's a terrific driver. But the point is that the big teams are just spending that time at the tracks. They're not away from the track. So, for anybody in any championship, not just Ginetta Juniors, they've all been out testing for the last few weeks. So in some respects, it's actually made things more expensive for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, I think it shows. I think it gives credit to British motorsport in general, just how competitive it is. That to compete at the level you need to, you have to be out all the time on track. Just finding that last little bit, because we are probably one of the most competitive countries for racing in the world, I believe. And you see it when our top drivers go all over the world and still do well. Obviously I've got there's friends I know that are racing in the World Endurance Championship, and they are the best in their class, and it's just credit to British motorsport being so good.
We've got the best sim racers as well, of course. We were looking at Tom O'Farrell very briefly. Got his first points on the board last weekend, which was good, as did Simon Reed, currently in 23rd place, so could well get back on the points this weekend. It actually wound up that Simon ended up with 2 point scores, 2 14th places last weekend in the Ox4 Racing 35 car, so a really terrific effort from Simon Reed, who I was sitting as driver of the day. And it's great looking at the sharp end, but it's great looking at the guys that are bagging their points for the first time. We're getting a yes, Simon Reed from Sam Belt on the on the social media feed. Sarah Bird says good luck, Damien Hall. So thank you, Sarah. Thanks everyone who's taking part in the social media. See whether Simon can get back up in the points as well. Kenny Press looking to try and get in points as well. He's 22nd, just behind Andy Bullman, Jack Davidson 20th. So really tight right the way down the order with 1 minute 48 to go. Dave Marshall still up top from Jordan Brennan, Mike Epps, Dan Zelos 4th. Are we going to see, is Max Coates sandbagging, do you think? He's down in 11th at the moment. He was quick last week in qualifying, but some work to do.
He was, and I believe he was up quite late practicing last night, so unless he didn't get much sleep, I imagine there's... But if I'm looking at the timesheets compared to obviously the practices last night, the pace has just jumped again. The time Max has done is incredible, which just shows how fast the grid is this year. I think, and it's good to see. It's good to see a good mix throughout the grid. Obviously, you've got some drivers that suit this circuit more than others. Some that were quick last week are struggling this weekend. I think it's just going to mean that it really mixes it up and hopefully makes the championship look good.
It does.
There we go. And as I say that, Mike Epps goes second.
Look at that, pops one in just as I started to write down the top 10 for my grid and messes it up. So thanks, Mike, for doing that. The two teammates, 1 and 2, both of them, of course, are noted coaches in sim racing, and of course Mike Epps in real world as well. Jordan Brennan down to 3rd, looking to try and come back. So I'll tell you what, I'm not going to write any more times down until we get the clock completely down here at the Silverstone International Circuit. The great view from Stowe Corner, and Jordan Brennan looks like he's done, so it's going to be P3 for Jordan. There is Mike Epps in the 10 tenths blue and black car, the red and black car of Dave Marshall, provisional poleman right behind him. 12 seconds remaining on the qualifying session. A lot of them, I think, job is done. They're coming into the pit lane. So Marshall on provisional pole, Mike Epps.
You're allowed to come into the pit lane side by side.
P2. They are. It could be a new way to find them, couldn't it? A dangerous pit lane entry. Jordan Brennan is third. Dan Zelos fourth. Jack McIntyre in fifth place. Sixth position going to Robbie Stapleford. Again, a youngster that we met for the first time on the scholarship. A week before Christmas, the scholarship was. Fair play, Janetta, for sorting that out. And also dishing out 2 prizes this year as well. Max Edmondson seventh. Eighth position going to Jack Noller, so he completes row 4. Then it's Matt Richards. Isaac Smith completing the top 10, and Isaac followed by Josh Hislop and Max Coates down in 12th place. Great to see potentially Damien Hall in the points in 13th from Ryan Elliott and Josh Martin 15th from Rob Butler 16th. That is how close it is. So at this stage of the proceedings, we will head down into our virtual Parc Ferme and have a word with the man who sets a third pole position of the season. Congratulations, Dave Marshall. Well done, Dave. How was it?
Yeah, cheers, Richard. That was a bit more myself, wasn't it? It's try and get the lap in earlier rather than later, which I always prefer. And, you know, it was second lap, so the tyres probably weren't quite in yet with that lap. But luckily, you know, Mike's given us a great tow and we were swapping tours each lap. So, yeah, it's just about hooking it up as soon as I could. And, yeah, I put the lap in when it mattered.
We're joined by Alex Toth-Jones in the commentary box, and he said that he reckons that you sandbag from time to time. I'm sure you don't, but what's the view?
I wouldn't say I sandbag. Anyone who doesn't know what sandbagging is, that's where I hold something back. No, if I'm honest, it was just a case you practice the whole time up to the race, you know, getting the lap dialed in and stuff, and then, you know, we've jumped on this morning, we did a bit of tour practice, me and Mike, and, you know, that's what the extra bit of tour adds. It just gives that little extra tenth that you maybe need to guarantee you either pole or just give you that little bit more of an advantage.
Points-wise, of course, Jack McIntyre, the man that you're looking over your shoulder at, 35 points clear coming into this, now 36 with point for pole, and you need to be 43 clear by the end of the day to provisionally wrap things up. We have to say provisionally because obviously there might be judicials on today's racing, not that we're expecting you to fire anybody off or anything like that, but also there might be some judicials after the final round at Brands Hatch. But you're edging towards that title and that second weekend of racing.
Yeah, and I can't lie to you, that is my goal. You know, if I could tie things up leaving here, that would be mega. But to be fair, I just want to come here, have a clean round, come away with as little point reduction as I can, and then leave it at Brands. Really is the plan. You know, it's nice to have Mike here on the podium with us in second place at the moment, and you know, it's a nice little sort of buffer from the rest of the grid, if you like. So, yeah, looking forward to this race.
Some quick guys, as ever, right around you fellas, though. We've got, you know, Juggy Bear on the second row with Dan Zelos, Jack Mack on the third row with Robbie Stapleford. There's nowhere to hide, though, is there?
I mean, I take Jordan slightly less seriously when he's called Juggy Bear, but he's got to look a bit more friendly. But yeah, you know what? Jordan's a good driver. A lot of respect for him, and he respects me. You know, any collisions that happen between me and him, it's completely, you know, not malicious. So yeah, he's a good driver to race with. So, you know, we've got a good 1, 2, 3 on the grid here, and hopefully it'll be a nice clean start. I see Jack's down in I think 4th or 5th place, so he might be held a bit mid-pack going into the first lap. So yeah, just not looking at our mirrors, get our head down and go forward to plan.
Okay, have a good race, Dave Marshall. Congratulations on pole, and we'll speak to you on the podium, I guess, a bit later on. Dave Marshall, our pole position man.
Cheers. Thanks, Richard.
So well done to Dave Marshall. The cars, as you can see, on the virtual grid and getting ready. Just run through those top positions for you. Dave Marshall on pole. He's in red and black. The black and blue car is Mike Epps. Then Jordan Brennan in white and red. Dan Zelos in the Tivanti Esports, predominantly red with black car. Jack McIntyre next up in the light blue and white car. Rob Stapleford is in P6, so that's the third row of the grid. Row 4, Max Edmondson and Jack Noller the 5th row, Matt Richards and Isaac Smith in the 1, 2, 3 car, then Josh Hislop and Max Coates completing your top 12. For this, the start of the penultimate meeting of the series. And are we going to see Dave Marshall edge closer to the championship title? 36 points clear now in terms of the sim racers over Jack McIntyre. Remember, the overall championship, Marshall leads from Mike Epps, Jack McIntyre 3rd overall. So the overall championship, there isn't I don't know if there's a trophy actually overall, but there is the prizes, the respective prizes in the real world championship and the sim classes, and the drivers are effectively going to be looking at that. So less than a minute to go before our first race. Alex Toth-Jones, what are the nerves going to be like when you're sitting there ready for the first race of the weekend?
I think the first priority is trying to get it off the line well, control the wheel spin, and then see how it goes. Going into turn 2 is going to be really, really edgy. I think we might see a little bit of contact, but I think we're going to see a great race, especially between Dave and Mike.
Yeah, I would echo that. We would expect nothing less of those two. And here is the iconic view down from the first corner at Abbey. 5 lights are on. Out go the lights, and we are Mini Challenge UK eSeries racing here at Silverstone as they head down into Abbey for the first time. They'll go into the left-hander at farm. It's Dave Marshall that makes a great start from Mike Epps. Jordan Brennan is in 3rd place. 4th position is Dan Zelar. So Brennan already getting stuck in and having a look in the rigged Slick-Wally car on the outside line. Jack Mack trying to come up on the inside line of Dan Zelos for 4th position. So we'll see whether Jack Mack can get involved in the fight. He needs to pick back Dave Marshall on the point. He's still fighting on that inside line, just towards the back of shot. But here's an iconic view, coming down hanger straight for the first time. And it's Marshall that leads. And thankfully, Alex, good clean stuff at the start.
Yeah, the front of the pack got away really well. I was watching the top-down view, and there was a fair bit of hip and shoulder, shall I say, through the start. I think Ryan Elliott suffered from it, which is a shame. I promised to say nice things about him. I'm sure he'll come back through, but at the front it looks very close, and I think we're on for a good one.
Yeah, we're always on for a good one. Superb racing here at Silverstone on the national circuit last weekend. It's still available for you to watch back, and I would heartily recommend that. Superb racing last weekend. So Marshall it is that leads them across the line at the end of lap 1 from Mike Epps. Jordan Brennan in P3. Dan Zelos is in 4th, so the qualifying form seems to be bearing out. They go through the left-hander at Farm, then it's the right-hander at Village, through Link, before they get onto Hanger Straight once again. Epps closing up. They'll be keen to try and get away, build a lead, and then possibly fight amongst themselves. Epps was quickest in the practice session this morning, but Marshall grabbing the point. These two guys have really dominated the qualifying. Mike Epps has had 4 pole positions this year, and this is the 3rd for Dave Marshall. Wonderful to see anybody else next week at Brands Hatch as Epps starts to just show a little look down the inside line as they come into Stowe Corner. Here we go, on board with Epps.
This could be quite a crucial part of the race. I think Epps has got to decide if he goes for the move and tries to pull a gap, or he sits and tries to pull away from Brennan. If I was Brennan, I'd be quite happy now. I'd be hoping these two have a fight in front and see if I can pick up the pieces. These two just need to get the head down and get away.
Yeah, nice call, mate. Here they come out of Club Corner onto the pit straight. Is this Hamilton now, the pit straight? I seem to remember they named it after Lewis Hamilton, who's got corners named after him here, or straight named after him here, and a corner at the 300 circuit at Snetterton as well. Epps busy chasing very hard. Dave Marshall still out front, so the two 10-10s boys are there. We'll have a look a little bit further back. Matt Richards is there, and looking to come through is Ryan Elliott. Ryan was 14th, so making progress on his recovery off the start. There is Rob Butler coming through in the 74 as well. Rob reading that neatly, going down the inside of Matt Richards, who you can see just loses out there, but will stay in contention. Luke Kidsley 15th, Liam Lambert 16th, trying to get up into the points again is Liam Lambert, again after judicials, picking up some championship points for the first time at the last round, Liam Lambert, so he will be pleased to carry on moving up the order. Max Coates' mum Karen has said go on Max, of course. Chris Day says come on Simon Rigg, let's grab some more points. Loads of people coming on the social media, which is great to see. And there is Luke Kidsley. You can see again, got the scuffs on the side of the car. It has been a physical opening couple of laps. It's Marshall from Epsom, Brennan, Danzilos rather in 4th place, Jack Mack 5th from Robbie Stapleford, and Max Edmondson next up. So you get the sort out, and now they've just got to play for their various positions as we watch going through shot.
You see Dave pulling half a second gap on Mike, so I think he's getting his head down and trying to get away now. I think Epps has just got to close that gap back down and cling on for now.
Yeah, they were working with each other in qualifying, as you heard Dave say, but now it's up to him to try and break the toe, isn't it? And get away. There's Tom O'Farrell, the man from Isla, on board with Jack Noller. And Max Coates has come up into 8th place. So this is, again, great stuff from Max. We'd like to see him working. Now, we didn't feel that, but that definitely looked like a little tap on the back of Max. It doesn't dislodge the car. It was well before the corner, so it can't be seen as a Matt Neal touring car punt. I'm going to get crucified by Matt for saying that as well, but...
I think that takes bump drafting to another level, though.
It does. The one championship where you see the bump drafting on the UK circuits work very well is in the National Legends Cars Championship and the Scottish Legends Cars Championship as well. And it's one of the most scary things to see. I can't imagine what it's like as a driver being bump drafted as you head down into somewhere like Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch, where you got that incredible drop away. But yeah, you're right. That was a little nudge, but I think everybody okay as a result. Nobody losing places. There were quick shot on the leaders. Dave Marshall, Mike Epps pulling away. Jordan Brennan in 3rd place. Dan Zelos still in 4th. Good to see Dan Zelos running well there. On for potentially his best finish. He's had a brace of 5ths. And here's the copper piston. Damien Hall at the wheel.
Yeah, he's at the front of quite a nice little train. He managed to make a move into turn 1, and he's got a bit of a gap, so hopefully the cars behind him give him a hand and help him catch the pack. But yeah, quite a good move into turn 1 there for Damien.
Yeah, he's only a place away from the points at the moment. As a quick rub of the nose, a scratch of the nose is down behind him. We've got Tom O'Farrell coming through as well. O'Farrell, a little bit of contact, left that a little bit late. That was a definite...
As I said that, they need to help each other out. They took each other out instead.
Goes to the commentator.
Yeah, my fault.
So, well, some work to do for Damien Hall, who finds himself now down in 20th place. Simon Reed will be chasing him. Jack Davidson 22nd from Craig Timmins. Then Alfie Glennie, Liam Lambert 25th. Mike Epps we are looking at now in P2. Trevor Nelson sounded alike. I haven't said that for a couple of rounds. He does sound like Trevor Nelson, doesn't he? Have you had that discussion at all?
No, but I will tell him now.
I can't remember who said it at the start of the year, but we were watching some stuff with Trevor Nelson last night, and he does.
It annoys me to watch the onboard of Mike and just to see how relaxed he looks. It's like it's too easy for him.
Yeah, Rich Hayden said he was sending messages during the middle of the race last week, and there he was scoring very healthy points last week. I
actually sent Mike a message after that saying, I don't know how you do it. I've done it again. Cursed him again.
This is bringing Jordan Brennan into the mix, so the battle becomes for 3rd now. He was very, very much on the tail of Dave Marshall and having a nibble, but now Jordan Brennan will have a go. Brennan, for me, was superb to watch last weekend because he's a driver whose head doesn't go down. I mean, I said that last week. Apologies for saying it again, but it is very much the case. He just, if he loses out a little bit, he fights back. And I've seen so many drivers who let their guard down and let their heads drop if things aren't going their way. And he's got a very good mentality, Jordan Brennan. I'm sure it's different to real world racing because there are so many factors that are different in sim racing. But his attitude in this has been superb. Here's Alfie Glennie on board with Alfie. Great view, and was trying to close down on Craig Timmins. But the Marshall here, he had a little bit of a rub, I think, but Mike Epps, that just ends up with him having a moment as we see Alfie Glennie, the Graves Motorsport car, on his own. So he had a moment somewhere.
Yeah, he's dropped quite far off the back of the pack. Might have had a moment. I think back to Mike. I think for Mike now, there's 11.5 minutes left of the race. There's plenty of time for him to catch Dave up. I think the top 4 are clever enough to know that the race is not over if they work together. And there you go, Mike jumps in being a 10th quicker than Dave. So it's still all to play for, I think. I think Brennan's in a great spot though for this race.
Looks like we've lost Liam Lambert. I said he was 25th and he's 3 laps down, so he's obviously had a problem, maybe caught up in a skirmish earlier on, which is a pity. Josh Hislop having a go here and finds the inside line on Jack Noller. Ryan Elliott trying to work his way back through the pack as well, and the man for the minicar. 3 wide they go here, and it's Hislop and Ryan Elliott through on the inside line. Good bit of battling by Ryan Elliott, and again showing us, you know, what I was saying about Jordan Brennan, not letting his head go down. He lost a few places on that start, as you described, Alex, but fighting hard. The next car, the next target for him, metaphorically, is Max Coates in the 71 car, just about to go out of shot.
Nah, that's a great overtake, but it's not over yet. I think as he goes back down the inside, no, Ryan's got it. I think that corner's quite an interesting corner, being it off camber and downhill. It's quite easy to, you know, the move looks like it's really easy to just send it in down the inside, but you've got to think there's a long straight ahead. But Ryan managed to get that one done and cling on, so now he's just got to go and catch Max, which is no easy task.
That's a good perspective. Thank you for that. Dan Zelos has got through into 3rd place, so Zelos looking for a first podium, and Jordan Brennan won't give up the fight. That was great to hear, by the way, Alex, about that corner, because I didn't know that about that camber there, so really good to get the driver's perspective about that as a passing place. But good move by Zelos to get up onto a potential podium, and here's a driver that's growing in sim racing confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak from obviously the touring car race, which follows this, and the practice races that I've done for the Mini. You know, Dan's relentless. He definitely puts the practice in, and he's good. He's a good racer as well. He doesn't make it easy, to put it that way, and he's well earned the 3rd place that he's found. He's got a bit of pressure from behind, as we can see on the onboard, but yeah, I think Dave's just starting to edge away now. You know, which is good for Dave, but not good for the race. But I think it's all going to be about the rest of the podium places now, as we see the rest of the pack start to close in as well.
Marshall to McIntyre, points-wise in this one, there's a gap of 9 points, so it will take the gap out from 36 to 45. So if Dave can maintain that, if Dave can finish ahead, they finish where they are now, and Dave finishes ahead of Jack Mack in race 2, then it's provisional championship as sim racer to Dave Marshall. But still a long way to go in this one, and Jack McIntyre could cut that deficit in this race. He's the 3rd of the 3-car battle that we're looking at the moment, with Dan Zelos in 3rd. Dan will be keen to try and close down on Mike Epps, but he'll also be keen to bag a 3rd at the very least, because his best result so far, as I mentioned earlier in the race of 5th positions. We're into the second half of this one now. Dave Marshall looking comfortable out front. Mike Epps in P2. I'm not sure if you've got the timing. I'm hesitant to move away and look at the time on the screen, but did you say that Epps has got the quickest lap?
Unless I'm mistaken, if I look down the grid, yeah, Mike Epps is currently fastest lap on a 1 minute 11.3. Dave with a 1 minute 11.4, which is shared with Zelos, and then Brennan on a 0.5. So the pace is insane.
Matt Richards having a super dice with Luke Kidsley, and Richards with the upper hand there at the moment. Hasn't been on the podium since race 2 at Brands Hatch Indy, the first weekend of the season. But you know, a driver last year, he was up at the sharp end a great deal. Luke Kidsley was on the podium several times last year as well, and that shows how competitive this is. That's for 14th and 15th place. Andy Dorman behind them, then Josh Martin and Damien Hall 18th. So Damien's made up a little bit of progress from losing out with that tag earlier on in the race. Up ahead of this battle, we've got Rob Butler and Isaac Smith. Isaac 12th, Josh Hislop 11th. Isaac in provisional pole at the moment. Ryan Elliott's actually ahead of that, so he's going to be near the front of the reverse grid, but not at the very front of it, as we ride on board with Jack McIntyre trying to hunt down on Jordan Brennan.
It's looking like the first 2 positions may be tied up with 7 minutes to go, but I think 3rd place could be contested as we get into the final bits of the race. I was just about to say that outside bet on Jack McIntyre for a podium, but it's just run a little bit wide there. But I think with the tow around this circuit, I think we're still in for quite an exciting final few laps.
Yeah, I've got to say, I definitely agree with that, Alex. It's not going to be over. It takes a tight run in there. Oh, goodness me.
Very Tokyo Drift.
Jack Mack trying to close in as the Jack Noller still there, ahead of Josh Hislop, so just trying to close in on Jack Noller. Ryan Elliott beginning to build a little bit of a gap now, wants to try and hunt down Max Coates, who is in 8th place. So Max has made progress on his starting position of 12th in this race. Josh Hislop 11th, which is where he started. Isaac Smith is 12th, started 10th. Matt Richards has dropped down to 14th from his 9th position start. There is Coatesy. It really, as I say, I think he'd be disappointed with that qualifying. You can say on social media between quali and the race that he needed a little bit of luck to get him up the order.
Now Max proves that he's always good at coming through the pack, and he's definitely a racer. I mean, he's inside the top 10, which makes the second race a little bit easier for him. Currently, though, the one that's impressed me the most in this race is Ryan Elliott. To be involved in an incident at the start and then come back through and be inside the top 10 by the end is quite remarkable. I'm not just saying that because I promised I'd say nice things about him. He genuinely earned this one.
No, you've merited comment, mate. I agree with that for sure.
I had just got a nice little comment from Mike, the producer, when we saw Jack McIntyre going sideways into turn 1. He said it's because he's been driving GT3 cars all week, so he won't be used to it. That was quite funny, but the thing that amazes me is a lot of these sim racers, you know, they're not just doing this one championship, they're doing 3 and 4 at a time, you know, jumping in and out of different cars, and that's the bit that amazes me, that they can just jump in completely different machinery and still be fast and consistent.
Yeah, it's a tall order, isn't it? Going from discipline to discipline, and you've got to try and remember what you're in. You know, it's you know, again, exactly as you would if you were jumping around in different cars in the real world. Steve proudly says great racing and consistency from Dave Marshall. Echo that. And hi to Laura Lynn, who's a little bit late to the party, but you're very welcome all the same. Laura, good morning to you. So still people joining us on social media, which is superb to see. We're watching the battle for 13th place. Josh Hislop chasing Rob Butler for 12th. Matt Richards is in behind, still just under a second the gap between the leader Dave Marshall and Mike Epps in P2. Dan Zelos still in 3rd. He's 1.2 now, 1.3 seconds adrift off the lead pairing, but half a second to the good over Jordan Brennan, who's got Jack McIntyre for company as Rob Butler comes under pressure. Watch Matt Richards here, going for the cutback on the inside. Richards, I think, has read that well, didn't quite play out for him as they go through the lefts and rights, but you can see the thought process behind that, really trying hard as they come through Link and onto Hanger Straight. He's just trying to see where he can pick up the extra momentum and make the move. Into Stowe Corner we go once again. So there is Richards in the 44 car. Josh Hislop immediately in front of him. The Kinetic Motorsport 23 car. 12th in the championships, had 1 podium. 10 different drivers have graced the podium so far this year, which shows how competitive the championship is. That's very nearly half the entry have made it up onto the podium. Richards and Hislop having a really, really good battle here. But Richards can't quite find his way through. Luke Kidsley down behind him. Still the provisional pole at the moment with Rob Butler. 2 minutes 53 to go. It is, as Alex Toth-Jones predicted, Marshall from Epps, those two clear. Dan Zelos still in 3rd. The gap's come down. It's now 4 tenths between Dan and Jordan Brennan.
I think we might see a last lap battle for the podium if it keeps going like this. I've been watching the gap for a couple of laps now, and it is just edging down little by little, with Jack McIntyre sat behind him in 5th. So I think if I was Jack now, I'd be hoping that there was a bit of carnage in front, especially for the championship. But it's looking all quite neat and tidy, but that gap is definitely edging down as we see some pretty iconic defending going on. That was pretty aggressive, but you know, Matt Richards has been trying for a lap or two. Hopefully he manages to get it around the outside. There's a lot of runoff, so you can get away with that one.
Yeah,
good positioning for the last corner.
Oh, a little bit of a contact between the two, but that was brave stuff, and he held on. There is the mark on the side of the car. Wonderful move by Matt Richards. A good racing from Josh Hislop. Yes, there was a bit of contact. You would expect that, but they both survived it as Hislop looks back on the inside line. Classic bit of mini racing here between the pair of them onto Hamilton Straight, side by side, heading down in towards Abbey, and he's got it back. So Matt Richards has got all the hard work to do again, but super racing between them. And of course it's bringing Luke Kidsley into the mix as they slow each other up.
He goes down the inside. I think this circuit lends itself to competitive racing. Every corner leads on to the opposite of the next, if that makes sense. So you can always get the switchback, you can always get a run onto the straight. I think at this point he's just got to box clever and try and force a mistake out of the car in front, because it's looking very racy in the mid-pack.
It's a good battle, isn't it? And we're looking at the inset of Matt Richards. He's the meat in the sandwich here. He's going to come out, has a look down the inside line into Stowe Corner. Let's see whether he can keep that gap there. It's the opposite of where he was on the previous lap. Launches it up onto two wheels. Luke Kinsley coming back into the mix as well. So Richards has to go defensive from Luke Kinsley, who's all over him now. This is going to free up Josh Hislop to maybe try and get away, as we've got 40 seconds on the clock now. But yeah, super battle. All this is for 13th, 14th and 15th positions. The inset, you can see the battle for the podium that Alex was talking about. And at the moment it's Dan Zelos in the red and black Davanti eSports car ahead of the Liquid Moly Riggs machine, the 98 car of Jordan Juggy Bear Brennan, who is challenging him for third place. Zelos looking for a first podium. Is he going to be able to hang on to that? 13 seconds on the clock, plus 1 lap to go. So coming down for the penultimate time, the hanger straight. Dave Marshall clear from Mike Epps. The battle for third is very much on. Jack McIntyre back in fifth. I think you'd have to say that's probably where, unless there's a contretemps between third and fourth, that's where Jack is going to finish. And I'll have to do my point summary after the race and after the podium interview. So we've got to be all over the points as well. But fascinating stuff for third. Has Dan Zelos done enough here to hang on? He's got to work out for another lap. What's Jordan Brennan's best chance, do you think, Alex?
I think it all depends on how this first set of corners go. I think the gap's just gone up to 2/10, so it's still very close. There may be an opportunity into turn 3, but if not, he's got to line him up for the hanger straight, because that's the last big opportunity. Hopefully get Dan to defend and then look for a switchback.
Let's see what he can do. So the Liquid Moly car will fight right the way to the checkered flag. The clock has run down. Our inset shows race leader Dave Marshall. Pole position for him today. Closing down potentially on a little bit of traffic. It's Craig Timmins who's at the other end of the straight in 24th position. I don't think Craig is going to find himself bothered by the leaders by the end of this one, but it's Marshall from Epps, then Dan Zelos still there from Jordan Brennan. Marshall clear, and it's still by no means settled for that third position as they go very slightly down the gradient out of Stowe Corner towards the left-hander at Vale. That will flick round into the right-hander at Club, but here is Dave Marshall, who will edge his way towards the checkered flag here and win the first of our 2 races today. It is a win for Dave Marshall. Mike Epps in second place from third position. Dan Zelos, a maiden podium for him. We're watching Max Coates, who is in 8th position, up ahead of Jack Noller. It is progress for Max Coates from where he started on the grid. So it's Marshall, Epps, Zelos, Brennan. Jack McIntyre takes 5th position. 6th position goes to Robbie Stapleford. 7th was Max Edmondson. 8th was Max Coates. 9th position going to Jack Noller. Then in 10th position, Ryan Elliott. So good stuff from Ryan Elliott, who finds himself up towards the sharp end for the partially reverse grid race. 11th was Isaac Smith, and pole position for race 2 goes to Rob Butler in 12th position. So that is our top 12. Just having a look here at Craig Timmins. So Craig will, as predicted, didn't get caught by the race leaders and makes his way around into 24th place. But we need to go down to our podium, and hopefully ready to push the button to talk to us, the man who finished in 3rd position, a maiden podium, but very well done. Warm welcome to the podium, Dan Zelos. Well done. How does it feel to be on the podium?
Thank you very much. It's a bit surreal. You know, it's felt a lot of pressure there. I mean, I don't know if you could tell in my driving, but I'm sure the guys behind me could. It was a difficult race, and first time racing up the front with these quick boys, and they're no slouches. Yeah, it's been a big learning curve, but I'm really happy I was able to get it.
Dan, we've seen the progress that you've made. We've told the story, obviously, that you're new to sim racing and not as much experience as some of the other drivers, but you know, you've been edging towards this, and I think we've been expecting it, and it's great now that it's here, and great points for you.
It really is. I've had a few bad rounds past. The championship, you know, is I'm a little bit far off now, so it gave me a good bit of relax to kind of, you know, just go out there and to do my best and go for race wins. And I mean, I can't go without saying thank you to Dave Marshall for all of his training and his coaching. Without him setting up my sim and everything like that, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that today. So big thank you to him, and big thank you to Devanti Tyres for sponsoring me to this event.
Nice one, well done, mate. Look forward to catching you for race 2. So a lot of work to do, but first podium of the season, 11th driver to hit the podium this year, Dan Zelos. Really good stuff. Second position is Mike Epps. We always get to chat to Mike. Very few meetings where we don't, but a good second place there, Mike. You were quickest in practice, but your teammate pipped you to pole position, and you were looking very cool, calm and collected. Did you have time to send text messages during that race?
Not so much that one, mate, no. Dave is naturally the master of consistency, and especially during a race, he's an absolute force. But, you know, given his sim experience, you'd expect it. So he's been really helpful this week. I've been away at SNET and other places coaching, so had the setup sort of ready on Friday to practice and get a few laps in. And naturally, the pair of us are really quick, so had a little moment there. Tried to go into his boot. He braked a little early, I braked a little late, and it was just one of those. I was like, oh, coming in, but we got away with it. So not quite so Shedden and Neil-esque, but yeah, nearly. So a little bit safer this race. We'll see how we get through the grid.
I think that pulls you another 9 points on Max Edmondson in the championship, which I think takes your lead to 60 points. So you're very nearly. We're talking sort of fastest lap qualifying points now. The difference between winning the Real World Driver Championship. This is all provisional, and my maths isn't great, Mike. So, but I think that's roughly where we are. So maybe next race, provisional champion for the Real World Drivers.
Yeah, hopefully that's the main aim. Me and Dave want to both win our individual championships and then maybe scrap it for the overall. But after the penalties and the sort of scrappy last race on the national circuit, I think that's sort of faded away a bit. So I'd be relying on an issue with Dave, which I wouldn't wish on him. So see how it goes.
Absolutely right, Mike. Well done. Good to see you on the podium. P2 there. All the work to do to bring it through from the 6th row of the grid for our second race, and the man we're talking to, of course, starts in 12th place outside of the 6th row. Dave Marshall, well done. So a double for today. We've worked out, given the way things finish, if you finish ahead of Jack McIntyre in race 2, you'll be provisional champion for the sim racers and have that second racing weekend in the bag. Well done.
Is that real? Jesus. Yeah, that race meant a fair bit, if I'm honest with you. You know, it's a big stress relief when you've put the hours in during the week to try and make sure you're, you know, as prepared as you can be for the race. Yeah, nice words said there by Dan Zelos. I was down here on Wednesday, installing a triple screen setup for him, and you know, it speaks for themselves, doesn't it? You know, you put a driver in a triple screen, the sense of immersion, and he's straight away running up near the front. So huge congratulations for him for the podium, and yeah, Mike, what a driver, you know. A tour in quali, and then a nice safe race in race 1. So I'm over the moon, a little bit jittery, but yeah, let's get race 2 out the way.
He had a dive at you at one point, I think, going into the last corner at Club, and then just lost it a little bit, and that sort of got him away. Was there any contact?
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact, but as he said, it was just a bit of case of me a little bit early on the brakes and him a bit late, but there was no malicious attempt there. It was just a little bit of a miscalculation.
Sure, we'll let you get on with race 2. Congratulations, Dave Marshall. So Dave's target will be to finish ahead of Jack McIntyre. He's got a little bit of leeway over Jack. Already the lights are on for race 2. Rob Butler and Isaac Smith on the front row of the grid for our partial reverse. Out go the lights, so we're ready for another 20 minutes of action here. Silverstone International, here they come, down in towards turn 1. Rob Butler hungry to try and get up onto the podium for the first time. And it looks like we've got one car, I think, straggling away at the back, but it's Rob Butler that leads from Isaac Smith. Ryan Elliott, our reverse grid specialist, getting stuck in as well on the outside line. But it's Butler that holds on. Elliott gets tagged, I think. Little knock on the back end from Max Coates in the 71 car. Coming through as well is Max Edmondson in the 04. But, well, look at the first few corner bunching there, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, typical start of the race. There's always going to be a little bit of argy-bargy. Ryan actually got a really good start then, and then slightly slightly excessive from Max, but they've both ended up all right off the back. But it has meant that the two teammates at the front, Rob and Isaac, have got a little bit of a gap. But I'm sure they love to battle each other, so I'm sure there's still plenty left in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be a load to go as Ryan Elliott tries to close down on Max Coates. Looks on the inside line there, which converts to the outside, exactly as Alex Toft-Jones said in race number 1. He's gone through, so Max is passed, and Max down into 5th position. Ryan Elliott in 4th, which is Rob Butler that leads at the end of the first lap from Isaac Smith. Any of these guys capable of taking the race win. Need to keep your eyes on Jack McIntyre. He's in 6th place. Dave Marshall down in 9th. I'm going to try and do some mathematics as we work through as well to see where we are on championship points. They'll largely get thrown out the window with your visuals in any case, but we will try and let you know who is where in each respective championship. Mike Epps down in 12th at the moment. The man that he's looking at, of course, is Max Edmondson in the Real World Championship. Max is ahead of him right now, but I think Epps probably maybe just done enough to pinch the championship as Coates is on the outside line coming down into Stowe Corner. Max Edmondson trying to close in on these two and get stuck in for 4th place. Again, a great shot of Max working hard and trying to get past Ryan Elliott. Let's see whether he can find an inside line. Here is half a gap. Is he going to come through? No, he can't, because he realises that he's coming into the S's. So it's Elliott in 3rd place, Isaac Smith in 2nd ahead of him, and Smith and Butler starting to edge clear.
Yeah, I think this is quite a crucial part of the race. I think between Max and Ryan, they need to decide who's the quicker at this part of the race, and then just get on with it and try and catch them. Because between Rob and Isaac, if they work together, they could drive off into the distance. But just behind this group of cars, there's been quite a lot of, I wouldn't say carnage, but there's been some interesting stuff going on. A couple of cars running very wide and little bits of door banging here and there. But when you get a reverse grid, it's always the case as the pack starts to close up. But just interested to see that Dave's already got himself up to seventh place. Mike's having a bit of a slower start in 12th. Dave just seems to find a way of getting it done.
Yeah, he works his way through, he spots those opportunities, he won't take any undue risks as we watch Max Coates still all over the back. This is the back of this group, and Jack McIntyre is by my maths, depending on fastest laps, 44 points down on Dave Marshall coming into this race, but Marshall is the driver following Jack Mack. So at the minute, McIntyre in 6th place would afford him 10 points. So Jack's only taking 1 point away from Dave Marshall, which would bring it down to 43 without fastest laps and poles next time up. As we watch Jack working hard, Dave Marshall with fastest lap at the moment on this one, so the potential point. So Marshall in position to provisionally scoop that 2nd weekend of Mini Cooper racing with the Mini Challenge for this year. And of course, you know, 1 round is a super prize. 2 rounds is going to be absolutely mega. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, having 2 rounds, Dave has carried last year's one through into this year. Sensible decision, I think, Alex, to have 2 racing weekends. He could start to build some momentum, can't he?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I speak to Dave a lot, especially regarding him getting his ARDS test done, you know, so you can actually go and do these rounds. And we knew quite early on that because of the pandemic, it was probably going to be a case of you know, putting it off. But I think if, you know, obviously it's looking likely at the minute, if he gets the 2 rounds, it'll be great for Dave, and be really interesting to see. And hopefully a lot of people watch that round to see how Dave gets on, because I have firm beliefs that Dave is going to be very fast in real life, not just on the sim.
He's one of these annoying people that's good at everything he does, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's always the case.
But to be fair, again, it's because he puts the work into what he does.
Yeah, the amount of time Dave puts in is, you know, it's commendable, really. I mean, every time I jump on to have a practice, he's on, or he's coaching somebody, or he's working on his own setup. And yeah, I mean, he deserves the results he gets because he puts the hard work in. But yeah, I think there's a fair bit of natural ability to go with it.
I definitely agree with that one, and I am joking, Dave, when I say about being annoyingly good at everything you do. It is the work you put in anything in life. Super Buffer going on for the lead. You might have seen a little knock that we had Isaac Smith on the back of Rob Butler, up into 3rd place now, and clear is Max Coates. He was our 10th driver to grace the podium in our last round. Jordan Brennan looking to try and close down on Matt Richards, and he's got Mike Epps and Dan Zelos right behind him at the moment, so the podium finishes from race 1 right in the mix. It's getting very frenetic. 4th place with Ryan Elliott, Jack McIntyre and Dave Marshall, 4th, 5th and 6th position at the moment. This great group of cars. Brennan in the mix trying to hunt down on Richards. Richards in turn looking at Jack Nolan. A little bit of a gap here for Jordan Brennan to squeeze through the Nick Pavoli car on the inside line. The Nick Pavoli Riggs car as they go along Hamilton Straight is on the inside line. Coates goes through in 3rd and clear at the moment, but Rob Butler doing a sterling job out front. We know he's quick. He was a regular on the podium last year. I hope that both he and I and Isaac Smith, we get the chance to chat to them, as Matt Richards again is challenged here by Jordan Brennan on the outside line. Brennan's got to be careful not to leave the door open for Mike Epps. He doesn't do that, or does he now, because Epps coming back up to play here. Some really good shots that you can see. Silverstone generally regarded as a flat circuit, but you can see there are some subtle gradients, which Alex was talking about in race 1.
Yeah, it's not an easy circuit for its length, you know, as we see what looks like it's still lap 1 with everyone door banging inside to side and 3 wide down the straight. So here we go. It looks like there could be a few moves going on down into the final set of corners.
Yep, so coming into the complex on the inside line, Max Edmondson to his outside, Jack McIntyre. Again, a little bit of a shake of the head for him. It's probably a good job we're not lip syncing on being able to lip read there. Maybe not too happy with himself, but goes on the outside line of Max Edmondson. All this 4th, 5th position. Still Butler, Smith and Coates out front. Edmondson giving the 37 car a good old workout here. So Jack Mack under some real pressure from Max Edmondson. Robbie Stapleford in 7th. Nice to see Robbie climbing up towards the sharp end of things again. Driver who has had 2 podia so far this year, qualified 2nd in the opening round of the year and 2 second positions, both I think in reverse grid races, but very much capable of getting onto the outright podium and outright wins in the fastest first races, if we'd like to call it that. Here's the view from Epps, Matt Richards there as well, and Josh Martin coming through on the inside line as well. Very well read by Josh, sees the gap there, dives up the inside line, and is Josh Martin going to complete this against Matt Richards?
I was impressed that there was no contact going in there. It's so easy on the way into Stowe.
Oh, Dan Zelos gives it
as
a
I say it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it just shows that the mini racing is so close. You can't make a mistake. If you drop a tenth, half a tenth, it's massive, and you could. It reminds me of a bit of like competitive karting, Super 1. With you don't just lose one place, you lose 6 all in one go. I don't think there's many sim championships out there that are as close and competitive as this at the minute. One thing I did notice, I think we had the small issue with Ryan Elliott. He looked like he was inside the top 10 and he's dropped just outside. I think he's 13th now, so he's having a bit of a mare. Again, I feel for him. I feel like it's my fault I've cursed him.
He's certainly been involved in some physical racing. There was a little bit of a run with Max Coates earlier on in the race. Not sure if it was on the repass, but certainly in the earlier laps. Mark Helen on social media says, Simon Reed showing why he's the people's champion. 23rd place at the moment for Simon Reed. So keep your tweets and social media comments going. And Rob Butler under some big pressure there from Isaac Smith. He was going through now. It's Isaac Smith, in fact, into the lead. So Smith passes Butler for the race lead. Are we going to get another new winner here? Isaac Smith has had 2 podiums so far this year and goes in front. Neat move over Rob Butler.
Yeah, Rob got a little bit sideways coming out of the complex there. I don't know whether there was a little bit of contact or it was just a mistake, but like I said early on, it was important that them two kind of worked together, got their head down and got away, and it looks like that's not been the case, and it brings Max Coates, but not only Max. Look, we've got Dave Marshall in 4th, closing in again.
Still closing up. It's just starting to do a little bit of maths for the Mike Epps scenario. Max Edmondson picked up 8 points, so goes on to 132 points, and Mike Epps will be on 195, 192, so 60 points. It's really going to be, it's going to be Epps. I think is doing enough here to wrap up the drivers, the real world drivers side of things at the moment, 60 points will be his call, and 44 points Marshall over Jack McIntyre. So remember, everything provisional. It's very provisional because of my maths. As we look at Max Coates trying to go down the inside line of Rob Butler, we'll come back to the mathematics in a minute. And Butler is about to be passed, or is he, by Max Coates, who looks down the inside line. Butler hangs on to second position, and Coates loses out just a little bit there, but he's fine. Oh, now Butler goes wide, and Coates is through up into second place.
It looked like Rob defended that quite hard, and then had to bail on the exit and go across the access road, which you do lose quite a lot of time. Obviously, Max has got himself into second now. There's a 1.5 second gap to Isaac, but if they work together, like I say, it's the crucial thing on this circuit with the toe being so important. And as I say that,
he's not going to work with him.
No, knowing Rob, Rob doesn't like to lose any positions. He'll be fighting hard for it. As long as Rob can finish on the podium, he'll be happy. And Dave's here to pick up the pieces.
Absolutely right. You know, we call Jack McIntyre the silent assassin, but that's exactly what the machine, Dave Marshall, has done, chipping away. And Marshall here, from 12th on the grid, he's now knocking on the door of the podium. He's very nearly there. He's got his nose in front at the moment as we look. Max Coates in P2, and Marshall's going to come through into second place. If we don't watch this, he's on the inside line. So he's side by side with Butler at the moment. He's side by side with Coates in actual fact now, and goes through into second position. So well done, Dave Marshall, from 12th on the grid. Isaac Smith, your race leader at the moment from Dave Marshall. Max Coates still in third. Rob Butler will be determined to try and get on the podium as well. Coates back on the inside line, reclaims second position. Coates versus Marshall. Superb stuff between the pair of them. I think it was actually, I was talking about the comment about Trevor Nelson sounded like Mike Epps. That came, I think, from the pre-season chat I have with the defending champions, Max Coates and Dave Marshall. They're having a fine battle there. But look at the train of cars. And now look at Dave Marshall as he comes out of the slipstream, down the inside line into Stowe and up into P2.
Yeah, I think Dave sees it's quite crucial now with 7 minutes left to go that he gets in the lead and gets on with it to catch Isaac. There's, as much as there's 7 minutes left, time runs out very quickly when you start to battle. I think if Dave can get clear, I think there's still an opportunity to win this race, but I think Max has got to play ball, which, you know, at the end of the day, I'd want a podium as well.
I think Max is going to play ball. I reckon he'll want to try and slipstream with Dave and try and catch up with Isaac, because if they work together, they've got the chance. They've both got the chance of that win. But Isaac Smith has got a good lead, 2.7 seconds at the moment. Marshall second, Coates third, Rob Butler in fourth. Don't discount Rob Butler at all. Jack Mack in fifth position. Max Edmondson is in sixth. Robbie Stapleford, who we ride on board with. Rob Stapleford goes through into sixth place. Very neatly done there by Robbie Stapleford. But Max Edmondson closing up and side by side with him. A bit of door handling between the two. And Stapleford stays in front. Down behind them it's Jordan Brennan in eighth place in white and red. Then Mike Epps. Epps having a somewhat more relaxed race here in ninth place, up ahead of Matt Richards. So we're looking at this early stage that provisionally having two champions crowned, and as I say, my maths is provisional, and the results of course are provisional until all the judicials are done, but we'll be able to provide you with a clearer picture of the points on the introduction to next week's final programme. Butler again getting a little bit tail happy there, under big pressure for fourth place from Rob Stapleford.
Yeah, there's a lot of I'll tap you, you tap me, all fair and square. Getting a little bit feisty in the mid-pack, should we say. Hopefully it doesn't end in anything too disastrous, but it means it's close racing, I guess, as we go into turn 3. Rob's defending quite hard. I think he's getting a lot of contact as, again, managed to save that.
Butler gets a tap. Max Edmondson around the outside line to go fourth now. Coming up into the mix as well is Mike Epps. Suddenly from nowhere he's dicing for some serious points and looking at the inside line on Rob Butler. Jack McIntyre up into fourth as a result of that. Max Edmondson fifth. Rob Butler sixth from Mike Epps. And here come the second and third place cars, Dave Marshall and Max Coates. The gap has come down. It was 2.5 seconds. It's now 2 seconds between Smith and Marshall. Coates and Marshall having a bit of a battle, but effectively still managing to find time to work with each other and cut the gap to Isaac Smith, who is out front. All of these northern-based drivers, aren't they? The Yorkshireman Isaac Smith, the northeastern of Dave Marshall, Yorkshireman Max Coates as well.
Yeah, I think Yorkshire's where it's at, to be honest, speaking personally.
Thought you might say that.
Yeah, a little bit biased. However, when I speak to Dave, he says I'm not a real northerner. I'm practically Midlands, but it's because when you're a Geordie, it's even further north. I'm sure it's cold up there.
Like telling us that it is cold at the moment. Sun shining down here in southeast London, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's quite a nice day here too.
Isaac Smith down the Hanger straight, and what's the gap? He's holding it at the moment at just over 2 seconds from Dave Marshall, Max Coates. They do need to work together. I think they are working together. You can see that they've broken away from Jack McIntyre, who's in 4th position behind them, and Max will probably, you know, from a racer's perspective, your thoughts are going to be, okay, I'll work with this guy towards the last few laps of the race, maybe the last lap, and we'll see whether we can get close enough to Isaac. If not, then that is the time to sort it out. That's got to be the racecraft mentality, surely, Alex.
100%. If I'm Max now, I'm thinking I can still win this race. You've just got to box clever and follow Dave and let Dave do the hard work and sit in the toe and catch Isaac, and then hope that in the last bits of the race when there's a battle, you can capitalise on it. They had a little bit of a battle, and as I say that, there was a lovely bit of hip and shoulder into turn 1, which is very common. Realising in the last few laps, Robbie Stapleford's had a fair few knocks either side, so he's getting very close in the midfield, shall we say.
Yeah, he's definitely been in the wars. Dan Zelos down behind him, so Zelos moving up into 8th place. Jordan Brennan now 9. Ryan Elliott back up into 10th. Ryan's been in the wars in this one as well, but again, great fighting spirit from Ryan Elliott, back into the top 10. Liam Lambert's in the points again, he's in 14th. Damien Hall in the points in 15th. Josh Hislop ahead of them. So great news, and well done Liam Lambert and Damien Hall. We mustn't forget about our point scorers. But it's Isaac Smith now. The gap, 1.3 seconds. Isaac Smith to Dave Marshall and Max Coates. The gap is coming down for the lead. We're riding on board with Max Edmondson chasing Jack McIntyre. Jack McIntyre's going to be a hard man to catch and pass when we get that workout going on. There is Ryan Elliott, got himself onto the back of Juggy Bear. So Jordan Brennan is in front of him. Robbie Stapleford, we're being told, is has retired. Dan Zelos is in 7th place. Mike Epps in and around him. Well, there is Ryan Elliott still very much in the mix as well. But the gap, 1.2 seconds. It was a drive-through. So Robbie Stapleford gets a drive-through. Well, well done for him for executing that. Catching the curb there was Matt Richards in the Sancho Sim Sport car, and 9th in the championship. Man, he's a little bit away from the podium in this one, but just goes to show how curbing it can really throw the car off line and how precise you have to be, Alex. Yeah,
going back to the penalties, this circuit's really strict with the track limits. It's quite easy. When you're in the race, you get 4 warnings, and obviously every time you run over the back of the red and white curb, you get a warning. Once you've exceeded the 4th warning, you get a drive-through penalty. So I imagine there's a number of drivers that are sat on their 3rd and 4th warning, having to drive very carefully not to get a drive-through and obviously drop massive positions. I do feel for Rob Butler. He looks like he's having an issue and he's dropped out the race. He has been subject to a fair bit of carnage in this one, and obviously it's gone wrong for him. To say he was up fighting for the lead at the start. The gap for the lead seems to have settled at around a second with not long left to go, so I'm going to put my neck out here and say I think Isaac might have this.
This is what it's about as well, this battler we've got here, Alfie Glennie and Simon Reed having a superb battle for 21st position, and Alfie's on the inside line. They've got just as much support, maybe if not more, as other drivers on the grid, so it's good to see them having a fight. The Grace Motorsport man on the inside line. Reedy's going to get him back though for 21st position. Absolutely superb stuff. Ahead of them, Kenny Press, who we've not seen a great deal of, running in 20th place, and Tom O'Farrell. But Alfie Glennie's got to try and close down on Simon Reed and get back as we look at the inset shot. The race leader, Isaac Smith, still there. 1.1 seconds. We are on the final lap. It looks like Isaac Smith is going to have done enough to hang on to this and crosses the line. Dave Marshall still is in P2. Max Coates in 3rd place from Jack McIntyre. Great battling going on wherever we look at the moment.
Yeah, it just shows the strength of the grid and the competitiveness throughout the grid. Hopefully, even if it's for 22nd, drivers like Alfie Glennie and stuff, they look at this and they come back for, next year and try and improve and make progress, because it's not all about winning and taking the championship. Some people, we need to see improvements year on year, and it's mega that these drivers are coming and doing it, enjoying it, even if they're finishing 20th, 22nd. As long as they improve and they enjoy it and they come back next year, that's the main thing.
Matt Richards raises a hand off the wheel there, a little bit of despair, but it's Isaac Smith who leads this one. You can see Dave Marshall has broken clear of Max Coates. He's closing in. He hasn't been able to get too much closer to the 1-2-3 car, and it's going to be the Riggs Esports Racing Team car of Isaac Smith, who is going to take his first win of the season. Superb stuff from Isaac Smith, a third podium of the year. Buzzes the pit wall virtually as he takes the win. Dave Marshall in second place, provisional champion of the sim racers. Max Coates completes the podium. Great to get Max up on for his first podium interview. It's not his first podium of the year, but it'll be great to have a chat with him. Jack McIntyre is fourth from Max Edmondson. Mike Epps comes through from 11th on the grid for 6th place. Dan Zelos 7th from Jordan Brennan and Ryan Elliott. Matt Richards completing the top 10. The point score is completed by Josh Martin. Hard race for him. Josh Hislop. Liam Lambert in the points again. 13th place for him. Well done, Liam. Jack Noller 14th. The points finishes completed by Damien Hall. Dogged meeting from the Copper Piston in 15th place. Just out of the points was Andy Dorman and Robbie Stapleford. But what a superb race that we had there. The reverse grid racing, as ever, delivering well. I meant to ask Alex Todd-Jones about a driver of the race for race one, and we will come to you after the podiums, Alex, if that's okay, to ask you about race one, driver of the race, race two, and driver of the day as well.
I'll get thinking.
Excellent stuff. So our podium drivers, I think, ready to talk to. I'm just doing some very quick sums and working out who is where and what we can say in our interviews in terms of championship position. But let's go to the third step of the podium, and strangely the first time that we've had a chat podium wise this year. Well done, Max Coates. Another hard race, Max. Great to see you on the podium. Well done.
Yeah, finally. It's nice to talk to you on a podium rather than sort of just running the thing beforehand. So actually I didn't talk to you today beforehand, so maybe that's my good luck charm.
That's it, yeah. Double bubble, really. Don't talk to me, you don't have to, and then you get a win, or you get a podium.
Yeah, I'm talking to you this way.
Of course.
It was good little battle, Dave. I knew that Rob Butler would be difficult to get past, same with Ryan Elliott, and it proved that way. I was just trying to do it without losing so much time, and then when Dave came through, I was hoping that I could just stick on the back of him really and go with him. He started to defend a bit, which wasn't ideal. So I just wanted to try and catch Isaac and see if we could both gain another place. So yeah, but it's nice to have a podium. That's decent for the championship and bring on Brands Hatch really.
So you're closing in on Max Edmondson now in the points. I haven't worked the points for you and Max out because we were all over the place in that one, just trying to work out who was scoring what. But it does put you a little bit closer to Max, doesn't it? The other Max.
Yeah, marginally. So he beat me by a place in race one, and I beat by 2 in race 2. But the way the point system works is that it kind of favours a better race result. So if you've had sort of an 8th and a 3rd, it scores better than almost like an average of like 2 4ths or something.
Yeah.
So the podium was the target this weekend. So I didn't really have the pace. So I sort of focused on race 2, and that seemed to work for me.
Hard work from you, Max, as ever. We see you sort of beavering away, trying to work your way up through the grid after a great qualifying last week. But good racing and good points for you. Well done.
Thanks very much. And again, another good battle with Dave. Last week's was way better, but hopefully we get to do it again at Brands.
We hope so too. Looking forward to that. Let's go to the man who finished in 2nd position. Now, I've done some quick maths, and I reckon, without thinking about fastest laps and everything else, 48 points clear, so provisionally champion of the sim races. Dave Marshall, P2, provisional champion. Congratulations.
Get in there. Oh, God. Yeah, that was a race that, you know, you sort of dream of a bit. Every time I got onto the pack in front, they battled 2 by 2 and they left me a gap up the inside, and that happened about 3 times. So that got me straight up onto the back of Max. And as Max said, it was a great race. Like, there's real race and respect there. He's right. Our race last week was absolutely mega. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check that out, because that was about 4 laps side by side. But yeah, he says I went a little bit defensive. I maybe did a little bit, but it was just a case of I'd pushed the tyres that hard early on in the race to get through the traffic. Didn't really have as much tyre left as in race 1, hence why it's probably about 0.2 of a lap slower. So I just made sure I got my fastest lap in really quite early, and then just got my head down really.
As I said, my maths are provisional as the championship positions, but pretty much there. You know, now we're going to see you, I hope, a couple of rounds for the Mini Cooper Championship. Does the pressure sort of go back to you to try and add more to that and try and make it a full campaign?
You know what, I could, but one thing I've realised is motorsport is very, very stressful. And the budget and the money involved in motorsport just takes my eyes out. So fair play to Max Coates for doing what he does, and the same with Isaac. You know, to get the budget together, get on the grid, is almost a full-time job in its own right. You know, unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I've got any, you know, family money to help push it. So it would have to be entirely sponsorship, and I think everyone knows that that's a really hard achievement to get. So, you know what? I'll be happy to take my 2 rounds. I hope not embarrass myself. And if I have won it, provisionally, I would love to do Croft and then finish off with a total round at Silverstone. So that's provisionally the plan, but I think I'll have to have some nice words with Justina and Anthony, I think, for that one.
Excellent. Well, cracking race, mate. Well done for getting up there from 12th position on the grid into P2, and we'll talk more about the championship when we're in a position to be able to do that officially. But we tried to keep our eye on the maths for everybody today, so that the narrative was there for this penultimate round of the current season. But we've still got a winner to interview, and of course, what a great race, a super start off the front of the grid, a hard race with Rob Butler as well. Many congratulations, 3rd interview of the year with Isaac Smith. Isaac, congratulations, super race and hard work getting past Rob. Isaac Smith, are you there? Don't forget to push the button to chat to us if you can hear us.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted.
No worries, Isaac. Yeah, cracking race, hard work, but you know, you seem to know what you were doing there, and Rob was your main competition at the start, and then I guess it was about managing the gap.
Yeah, sort of a classic karting race, really. Hold on to the toe, wait till the end, save the tyres, and pants when you get the chance. And it obviously worked, and we came through for a win. We've had obviously 2 other podiums where we could have been a little bit higher up before. To be honest, I'm quite surprised we've come through for this, to be honest. I've done the least testing for this round that I've ever done, and we managed to win a race.
Oh, that's great. Does that say to you that, you know, maybe you get a bit tense about things, and were you more relaxed having had less testing?
Definitely not. I was a lot more on it, to be honest. Obviously, when they released the machine, I was a bit worried, to be honest. And he was pulling in, but obviously I gauged the gap to the exact amount that I needed it to be. So I was going for about an 8 every lap, and that pulled it through to the end, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, it was a very well-timed race, and a good race, and it wasn't just flying off the front. You did have some work to do to get clear of Rob. Talking real-world racing, how are the fans coming along for this year, and any testing in the offing?
Yeah, well, I'll be testing in the coming weeks for this year's mini challenge. I'm with a new team. The announcement I haven't actually put up yet, which I probably should have done, but I will do that shortly. So keep your eyes peeled on that, guys.
Oh, we will. You're not going to give us an exclusive today, then?
No. We'll put it on a post.
That's fair enough. Probably fair to your sponsors as well. Isaac, great to see you on the top step of the podium. Thanks for entertaining us today. Super drive, mate. Well done, and we'll see you at Brands Hatch for the final round next week.
Thank you.
Isaac Smith, your race winner there. Before that, we spoke to Dave Marshall, finishes in P2 in our anti-penultimate race of the season, and Max Coates, who finished in 3rd place. Here are the provisional standings. Dave Marshall on 230 points from 203 Mike Epps, who leads the real world drivers, and I think has wrapped that up as well because he's about 60 points clear with only 43 remaining. So provisional congratulations to Mike Epps as well. Jack McIntyre still in P3, then Jordan Brennan fourth in the overall standings from Max Edmondson and Max Coates, closing up between those two, 10 points separating them for second and third in the real world driver standings as we go to Brands Hatch GP, our last round. Dan Zelos 7th and Robbie Stapleford, Matt Richards 9th and Rob Butler in the 10th position, just ahead of Isaac Smith, who's clawing up the order as the season goes on. Time to think about the review of the day, and Alex Toth-Jones, driver of the day or race for our first go before we come to Rich Hayden. Yeah, please do.
I've gone with Ryan Elliott, no bias. I genuinely think he did a mega job to come back through the pack after that early bit of carnage. And even in race 2, to be fair, he was a contender. He dropped back and came back through, so great driving by Ryan. Race 2, I have to give it to Isaac. I nearly gave it to Dave, but I think Isaac did a really good job at just managing his pace, managing his tyres, and getting into the lead and staying there. And if I had to give a driver of the weekend, it's got to be Dave. I mean, to effectively seal the championship, all going well, and to come through the way he has done in both races and do it in true Dave Marshall style. Yeah, they're my picks.
Great summary, thank you very much for that. Rich Hayden, good day so far?
Hello. Yeah, really good day. Great couple of races. I think I'm going to have to go for 2 different drivers, one for each race, same as Alex. I think Dan in race 1, well done mate, getting your first podium, very pleased for you. And Max for race 2, for hanging on in there and getting up to the front. Great drive from both drivers.
It was exciting racing again, wasn't it, today? And we've had 2 really good Silverstone events over the last 2 weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Silverstone's. I love doing this double header at Silverstone. We did it last year, and we've carried it on this year, and we'll do it in the touring car as well in a few weeks' time. So very pleased with Silverstone. Can't believe next week is the last round.
Do you know what we were saying in the commentary that this series has done its job for me again, bringing us from the darkness of going into lockdown to a point where things are beginning to lighten up. The kids are going back to school in a couple of weeks or a week on Monday here, and things are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it serves that job. It's done that so well for us. I hope it has for you too, Rich and Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really pleased with the series of events where we've got coming up as well. So, obviously next Saturday is the last round of the minis, and we've got 2 more weeks of touring cars on the Saturday in the afternoon after that. But we've also got a full series of events all the way through the week now, pretty much every evening. We're going to stagger the starts as we go through March, but this Monday coming up we've got the official Miltech Sport Civic Cup starting on Monday evening. Tuesday night we've got the last few rounds of the League of Champions Season 1. Then we've got a Members Cup, time attack challenges, lots of different things coming on board, and then at the end of March we've got League of Champions Season 2 coming on board, so I'm keeping busy.
That's good to hear. I was going to pick Mike's brains as well as to who he thought might have been driver of the day as well, because we don't hear Mike, but we do like to try and include him in the decisions as well as to who was our driver of the day. Craig Timmins is pushing along, so didn't get mentioned much. Were you live then, Mike? I'm not sure. Could our audience hear that, or shall I pass that on? So, Mike picking Craig Timmins. There was some great racing at the back, and really good to see some of the guys coming in and getting points, and Liam Lambert scoring again, which was good, and Damien Hall. For me, as one of the people who likes to keep an eye on stats, that was great to see, so well done. Superb weekend's racing. Still plenty of action, as you heard, coming up later today with the touring cars, courtesy of the Virtual Reality Racing Club. But from everyone on the Mini Challenge eSeries, that's the end of our penultimate weekend of the year. Big thank you to Alex Toth-Jones. Absolute pleasure, Alex. Closing thoughts from you?
No, thank you for having me. It's been great fun. It's been great from my point of view to see it from the other side. You know, not competing in it and getting to watch it for once. Obviously, I'm gonna jump off, grab some food, and then go and I'm in the touring car race that follows this. But no, I think it just proves that the mini challenge just brings some absolutely incredible racing. It's been very, very close. I'm looking through the timing screen now, and you know the lap times are so close from the front to the back of the grid. 1 round to go, and I think it'll just be just as good.
Yep, looking forward to that. Well done, mate. Great job. Absolute pleasure to
pleasure.
work with you. Just really enjoyed it. So thank you, Alex Dodson. And good luck this afternoon with the touring cars and the ongoing championship as well.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's contributed on social media again over the course of the morning. Really much appreciated. It's not the same without you not doing it. It's a new thing for me reading out those, so thoroughly enjoyed doing that. So from me, Richard John Neal, and Alex Todd Jones, Rich Hayden, and Mike Yao, our director and producer, who's done such a great job as ever. Thank you for joining us today from Silverstone International. 1 round to go, as you've seen. That is Brands Hatch GP next week. So until then, stay positive, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.
Something that I want to talking about me, talking on beat, talking about walking on my own 2 feet. Oh, you got something that I want to talking about me, talking on beat, talking about walking on my own 2 feet.
Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Parker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.